Hello everybody and welcome to the Naked Cooking Show, where I'm going to cook completely unclothed. No, not really. That sounds like a violation on YouTube. I just thought the shock value would be there. Today, we're going to be doing an episode of Cooking with Chase, where we are cooking Fettuccine Alfredo. Fettuccine Alfredo is fettuccine pasta topped with a creamy, garlicky cheese made with Parmesan, butter, garlic, heavy cream, and some other ingredients to pull it all together. It's one of my favorite dishes, and I really enjoy cooking it because it is just such a fun process, and in the end you get such a great feeling of just achievement. So for this recipe, you're going to want salt, heavy cream, eggs, assorted measuring cups, which I will talk about later, flour. You're going to want, I would say you should get Parmigiano Reggiano. Even though Parmesan is normally the cheese you would use, this cheese just tastes much better in my opinion, and it works much better for this recipe. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so to start this recipe, instead of starting with the Alfredo, we're going to start by making the pasta dough. So for this pasta dough recipe, I would say you're going to want, since I'm going to do a 3-person meal, you're going to want 1.5 cups of flour, and you're going to want 3 eggs, okay? So I'm going to scoop out my flour. And you're going to want to smooth out the surface of the top of the cup of flour. Look at this. This is what you want. You want a flat thing, and then you just pat it right down onto the board. So now that you've got that there, you're going to need your 1/2 cup, and you're going to scoop more flour into the cup. Okay, so now you're going to pour that onto the board. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to compile this into a middle kind of mound and make a big hole in the middle. Depending on how much pasta you want to make, you're going to do 1 egg and 1/2 cup of flour for each serving. So for the recipe I'm doing, I'm going to do 3 eggs and 1.5 cup flour. So now that we've got the pit in the middle, maybe I can make it even a bit bigger. You're going to take 3 eggs, 1 egg. Okay, there's 1 egg. 2 egg. And let's work up this wall a little. And you can adjust based on how it's going. So I saw that there was a problem, and you just kind of fix it based on eyeing it out. So now that you've got your eggs in the middle of the flour, you're going to want to work the flour into the eggs to form your dough. And you want to try to conceal as much of the egg as you can. You want to keep as much of it as you can in the middle. And you're going to work it into a dough type mixture. And you might even want to pop the yolks of the eggs to make it easier to mix your dough together. And I'm going to mix this until I have just a slight dough. It's not going to be complete dough yet, but you're going to use as much of the moisture from the egg that you can into the dough. So look at that. So I'm going to keep kneading. But we have a dough that's been formed. It's going to feel kind of soft, and it's going to be a little sticky, and that's not what you want when you have a dough. You're going to want it to be a little bit more tough, and you're not going to want it to be sticky, because then when you run it through pasta folding machine, it's going to stick to itself, and then it's not going to work. So you're just going to kind of roll it in a little bit of flour, and then fold from the inside. So you're going to go like this. You're going to pull the inside and kind of fold out, and you're just trying to get every single part of the dough covered in flour. And then once it's hard-ish and it's got a good consistency and it's not sticky, then you're going to want to let it rest for 30 minutes. So I'm gonna finish kneading the dough and then I'm going to let it rest for 30 minutes. I'll see you back when I'm done letting the dough rest. Now that our dough has rested for 30 minutes, you're going to cut it into 3 pieces, or depending on how many people you're serving, you're gonna cut it into as many pieces as there are people that you're serving. So I'm cutting it into 3 pieces, and these aren't gonna be exact pieces because that would take a little bit of time to get exact pieces, but here we go. So now with the dough that you have, you just roll them out into ovals, and then you're gonna bring them over to your pasta maker once they're all ovals. So I'm gonna go over to the pasta maker. Now that you have your dough ovals, you're going to use your pasta cutter and you're going to go to the widest setting on it, which for me, it would be a 7. And you're gonna roll each piece of dough through 3 times. So I'm gonna demonstrate it with just one piece of dough. Here you go. So there's 1. There is 2. And this is the final one. So, now that this one's rolled out, I'm going to roll out the other 2, and I'll be back once they're both rolled out. Okay, so after you've rolled out all 3 pieces of your dough, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the next setting down that makes it just a little bit thinner, and you're gonna take your piece of dough and fold both sides into the middle and then roll it through 3 times. So I'll demonstrate with this piece and then do the other ones off camera. So there we go. It's gone through once. Fold it again and through. And then the last time to go through, you're going to just fold it again. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and then you just roll it through. Okay, so now you're gonna repeat that process with the other 2 pieces of dough. Okay, now that you have done the 6 setting on your pasta roller, you're gonna do the same process on the next thinnest setting. So on the 5 setting, or maybe for some people, the 3 setting, you're going to roll it through 3 times. So 1, and then fold, fold. 2. And 3. Okay, now that you've rolled one of them out, you're going to do the next for the same for the next 2 of them. I'll see you when I'm done with that. Now that you have rolled your dough through the number 5 setting, you're going to go down to the 4 setting. But from numbers 4 to 1, you're only going to do it a single time. So I'm going to show you each dough being rolled. So, and I cut a little bit off one noodle to add to the other because the other one was a little bit shorter and smaller. So I just decided that was that. Okay, I'm unfolding the dough. There we go. That one went through. Okay, now we got this one. Okay, you just crank. Okay, that one went through one time. And then we're on to the final one. This one. Cranking. And boom. So now that we're done with the 4 setting, we are going to do the 3 setting, the 2 setting, and the 1 setting. Okay. Okay, now we're on the 3 setting. It's a little tough to crank sometimes. Okay. For once, so that one's done through the 3 setting. Okay, now this one goes through. Okay. So we're going through this one. This one has gone through the 3 setting. Okay, the final one to go through that setting. And then we'll keep going. Oops. Technical difficulties. Sorry, I'm going out of frame. Sometimes you need a little more force. Okay, it's gone through the 3 setting. So now it's 3 setting, down to the 2 setting. We're nearly to the point where we cut it. Start off well. Okay, this one's gone through the 2 settings, so it's at the second thinnest it can be. We're nearly there. Okay. And this one. Okay. This one through. And sometimes you might want to just stabilize it a little bit, even though there's a little clamp. It's always kind of good to just hold it a little if you need. Okay, now it's time to run the pasta dough through the thinnest setting. Okay, so we take this one and fold it in itself. And thin. And the thinner the pasta gets, the harder it is to crank, just because you're cranking dough through just a tiny little gap. And even at the 7, it's still tough to get it through. And there we go, there's that. There's one. Okay, we're almost there. Italian pasta. There we go. Okay, one more to go, and then we're gonna feed it through the cutting part of the pasta cutter, which is all what it's about. Probably gonna feed it in. Nope. Here, I need to refold that. Rethink what I'm doing here a little. Okay, the final one before we cut it in the fettuccine spot. Okay, that one's good. Now we have all 3 of our doughs rolled out completely, and we are going to kind of peel a little bit off because you have to make sure that the dough still stays thin, because if it's not, then it won't cut in the pasta correctly. Okay, rolling it off. Okay, now the fettuccine time. It's time to cook fettuccine. Take my knife off the cutting board, and here we go. Just trying to make sure that these don't get tangled, just because it's easier to collect your pasta and put it where you're going to store it until it's cut. So you just kind of work the dough or pasta noodles outward. And just keep and again here. Well, this should be good. Here's the first batch of pasta. Put it on the cutting board. Now, here's the second batch of it. Just go. And when you're cutting fettuccine, you always want to have the dough facing up. Okay, last one, and then we're going to boil. Pull it out. Come on. Okay, let's go. Keep going. Boom. Now I'm going to separate the noodles and then it's time to boil. Once you have separated your noodles, you should get a pot of boiling water and then salt it with just a little bit of water to give it extra flavor. Once your water is boiling, you're going to want to take your pasta and put it in the water for 1 minute and 30 seconds. After that, you're going to want to strain your pasta and rinse it out so none of the salt sticks on the pasta and makes it too salty. And then we'll get into making the Alfredo. Okay, now that we've made the pasta in this bowl right here, it is just sitting there getting ready to be mixed with the Fettuccine Alfredo. So first thing you're going to want to do is just light the pan and put it on medium heat, so about a 5. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab your butter. And for this recipe, since I'm making it for, how many people I want to make it for? 3. You're going to want 9 tablespoons of butter. That's 2. 3. Oops. 4. 5. Oh no, we're almost out of butter. 6. Okay, keep going. 7. 'She took the rag. Okay, that's gonna be number 8. And I don't think I'll be able to get number 9 because the butter's literally almost at its end. As much as I can get, so that's number 9. Now, we're gonna wait for the butter to melt. Okay, now we put the garlic in. Boom. Okay, now you're gonna stir for 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. Next, you're gonna add in 2 1/4 cups heavy cream. That's 1. And this is 2. And then we need the 1/4 cup. Where did I set that? Oh, over here. 1/4 cup heavy cream. Next, you're gonna stir this for 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, so now we're gonna add half of the Parmigiano Reggiano cheese into the mixture, and you're going to stir until smooth. Come on. When it's smooth, you're going to take the Alfredo very gently and just pour it onto the pasta, and boom. Okay, now that you poured it on, add some of the cheese and save some later. And then you grab 2 forks and you mix. Okay. Now that you have your fettuccine Alfredo, you're going to dish it. Just grab some of the pasta. And I'm a little bad at this, but you know, I'll have to use a fork. Abandon that. Here, can you hold that right? And nearly there. I get back a little. 2. Let's take a little of that out. And they're not exactly even, but right. And there you go. Well, here. Let's dish it a little bit more appropriately with more into each. Just take a noodle and toss it on. And then this is the final bowl. Final bowl the top off. And boom. There you have it. Fettuccine Alfredo. And there you have it, Fettuccine Alfredo. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, can you please like, subscribe, and comment on the video? I will see you next week. Bye.